Okay. And for those who don't know, I'm Holly Ross. I'm the moderator of the town. I will read the warning of the town of Tinmouth special town meeting. The legal voters of the town of Tinmouth, Vermont are hereby warned and notified to meet at the Tinmouth Community Center on Thursday, January 12th, 2023 at 6:30 p.m. for the purpose of being provided information and to discuss the article to be voted January 17th, 2023. The legal voters of the town of Tinmouth are hereby warned and notified to vote at the Tinmouth Community Center on Tuesday, January 17th, 2023, between the hours of 8 a.m. and 7 p.m. by Australian ballot on the following article. Article 1. Shall the voters, and here's the key word, rescind Article 1, voted and approved on November 8th, 2022. The article read, Article 1. Shall the voters authorize the expenditure of American Recovery Plan Act money, in parentheses, federal COVID funds, in parentheses, to purchase a right-of-way off of Mountain View Road for access for recreational and other purposes to the southern end of the town garage parcel and 4,300 acres of land on the westerly boundary of said parcel for $14,500 plus closing costs. Dated at Tinmouth, Vermont on this 14th day of December 2022. Select Board of the town of Tinmouth, Kathy Reynolds, Meadow Squire, and Kevin E. You can't see who's, oh, hi, Vito. You're kind of funny, but anyway, okay. So I'll turn this over to the select board. Yep, and share information, and then we'll have questions, discussion.
So, welcome. There's some new faces here from the last meeting we had. We presented this article to the town to vote on so that we could purchase a right of way to access the property the town has behind the town garage. We began the process in executive session in the late spring.
June.
Yeah, it was May, I think was the first. It was June. And then we, through series of meetings, finally got to the point where we were able to secure a purchase and sales agreement with the landowners. And once we had that, we immediately went public with the information. And because we wanted to have the town vote on it, the timing was pretty quick turnaround. So we did our best to send information out with the ballots and had a meeting. That was the night before. We realized we could have had it slightly further away from the actual voting day, but didn't. But we did that, and then the town voted yes on it. And we have since had a petition to rescind the vote. And we are holding another informational meeting for that vote. The only new information we have at this meeting is that one of the concerns of the last meeting was the location being unsafe, and we have since determined that we will only agree to a driveway location that is safe for the town. So that's the new information we have available.
I'm sorry, I missed that one.
Oh, just that the only new information is that we have determined that we will agree to a safe location for the driveway.
Well, if I could embellish this a little bit,
Yeah.
At the special meeting we had last May to talk about switching to Australian ballot, the select board asked for input on what to do with the ARPA money. And there was quite a bit of interest in recreation. And so when we went to try to get this right away, this part, that's where the recreation was proposed to be on the town's parcel. There was a lot of things proposed, like tennis courts and pickleballs and amphitheaters. It wasn't something that you were just gonna walk to. So that's why the right of way, the driving right of way was sought. The owners didn't want us going through the middle of their field. So we had negotiated to do it on the southern end, because when you look at this map, it looks pretty flat. But when you get out there, it's not flat, and it's really unsafe to try to have a driveway down there. Barb Naughton's driveway is right over here, and she said it's not really safe there, so the property owners have not agreed to it yet. It's one of the things that's a contingency in the purchase and sales agreement is both the buyer and seller have to agree to where the exact location of the right of way would be. This is the little 4.43 acres that used to be the town's, and we traded it to Joe Presperhart, so he would give us the Creamery, which is where we all park.
Yeah.
The Strattons said there's a big tree line there. They don't really want to own beyond the tree line, so they said, well, we'll throw that in too. So that's what's there. And I do apologize. I was not able to convince the select board in October that they should have a special meeting because we did mail everything out. There was a lot of concerns then, but they apparently are going to get addressed now. So we didn't notify adjoining property owners, which we probably should have done, and nobody thought of it. So we have to apologize for that. And there's some misunderstandings, and we hopefully learned from this whole situation not to repeat it.
Is there questions?
Do you want to tell them about the link, people on Zoom?
People on Zoom, there is a link in your chat room that's the map, the proposed map that I was just holding up for everybody that's sitting here. If you can click on it, you can see the map with the yellow lines of what's proposed and where the new proposed right of way would be.
Oh, that was a sneeze.
So does anybody have a question? There's Kyle. So on Zoom for the select board is Kyle Parker, Sherry and Kim, Pat Pasholka, Rick Fowler, and Nancy Birdsall. And on Zoom, if you want to know who's here, there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16 participants besides the select board and Holly and I.
No record. Wait, am I? Oh, I
Yes.
should.
That?
That's
Kyle? Oh,
Sorry.
Kyle, were you trying to ask a question? This is Holly, the moderator.
He just turned his mic off. I don't think so.
Oh,
Okay.
all right. Thank you, because I can't see that.
Yeah.
David,
What happens if the folks aren't agreeable to a different spot?
Goes away.
Okay, is there like yeah, I guess
It's a contingency. If you can't agree to it, it would just go away. The purchase and sales agreement would be.
I'm muted. Thanks.
from now on, my mistake, I should have asked you to say your name so that everybody knows. Who
that was
are you?
David Birdsall.
David Birdsall. So if you're going to speak, just say who you are for us here and for people on Zoom. Colleen.
I'm Colleen Ball, and Gail, maybe you could just explain what's dangerous about the original proposed location.
Sightlines.
Got it.
It's flat here and the hill goes down.
It's a blind
And you
Got it.
can't see who's coming.
Okay, so we want people to be safe when they're turning in or turning out.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
yes. After it became public, Eric Buckland, who we hadn't consulted with because it was all in executive session, said, you can't get a driveway permit. You won't meet your own driveway standards.
Got it.
That alerted us to the safety factor. And the former road commissioner Hollis also said it was not safe to have it down that far. It needs to be farther up the hill.
I have a question. Tracy Byford on Channel Road. So if we don't do this and we still want to access the space, which it seems a waste not to, what are the alternatives, if any, to access that space?
Did everybody hear that?
I can talk louder.
Now, I'm just wondering, owl people, Zoom people?
Owl people.
Well, that's what we call the owl.
So I think to repeat the question
That's
is,
all loud and clear.
I'm serious. You
okay,
can hear, okay.
Okay. Thank you.
so I think the answer would be that we might try for a walking right of way. Over the years, people have been asked, previous owners, if they would provide a right of way, and it's always been no. This is the first time somebody said yes. But there has been some discussion about going from the town office, parking at the town office and walking down around here. So we'd have to get a right of way either through the Eatons or through the Strattons if we go down that way. But that would be an option to have a walking right of way. And right now, if you're talking about a trail and playing disc golf and going to picnic tables, you can probably walk there. You don't have to drive there.
So that would also mean that you wouldn't need to put in a driveway, the cost of a driveway.
You wouldn't have to put in a driveway. It depends on what the uses are.
Right. Right.
I mean, maybe it's not recreation, maybe the town road crew is gonna wanna go in here, the salt shed's gonna be up here, maybe they wanna come in and get to it that way, I don't know. It does say for recreation of the other purposes, so. The original intent was for a big recreation area, similar to the place in Wallingford there, Stone Meadows or whatever it's called.
Sure.
Ron, if I could ask a question. During the planning of the town garage, there was discussion about having access separate from town garage access running to the east along the property. Is that now not possible?
Your question is having of a road, a separate access road to come in through there.
Yes.
Yes, it could. It's just gonna cost money. And so this was an easier access to it. And so that's the way the select board went, was try to get it from this side. But there are other, options for recreation. Hopefully the select board's gonna appoint a recreation committee that can look at everything. That's what the ARPA committee recommended, was the select board appoint a recreation committee to try to figure out what we need for recreation, what a town this size can support, and how many people are gonna use it.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. My question is, at the end of this road.
Who is that speaking?
Ed,
Ed Busseri.
he said his name, I guess it wasn't loud enough. Ed Busseri.
At the end, it's gonna be recreation area put in there. I go by the playground here, the field, a lot. I live right up on North End Road. And if there's no school in session, rarely do you see anybody use it. Rarely do you see kids there. I would rather see the money go towards something that benefits everybody in town and not just a few. Maybe if we could get a price, get solar panels on the town office, that would cut down the electric bill there. Or maybe we can pay off the town garage, some of the debt on the town garage. That would help out taxes. Again, that would benefit everybody in the town. Personally, that's what I'd rather see.
I understand you're talking about the ARPA money. Is that what you're saying?
The money we're getting from the federal government.
Right. But I understand that, but right now, what is on the table isn't about the ARPA money, all of it. We're just talking about this one particular thing.
Right.
So the select board has heard you. So thank you for that input. Questions, comments, discussion? I see a few quizzical looks. Does anybody want to say anything?
I'm Teresa Hoffman, and I'm wondering, what are other concerns about having this right of way other than the location on the road?
Anybody who said that they wanted to bring this before the voters again, want to speak to that?
Some of the petitioners were concerned about the process, how everything happened so quickly that we didn't notify neighbors, give them a chance to get some input from them as to, where the driveway should actually be located.
I believe there was also concern.
This is Chuck again.
I believe there was also concern with the valued adjoining properties. That a driveway at that location would affect the property immediately to the south.
Yes, if you own that field, you wouldn't want a driveway going through it. And if you were the house that was right next door, that got put 35 feet from the property line, which is what the minimum was for the zoning, to have a driveway go right by your house, so.
But the driveway, he won't be 35 feet from the house to the south because it's too hilly there.
It is, but that was the original proposal.
Okay. And to go through the Stratton's driveway, they would be it sounds like they would be the sellers, and so they would be agreeing to the location of it.
Correct.
Right, these people have to agree where the location is. Or where the location is gonna be.
And then you have the cost of. I think you're trying to ask, I think you're gonna have additional cost to put the road in and stuff. Even if you did get that. You're still gonna have the cost of the road and stuff to do it.
That was Kevin Eaton on the select board speaking.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Gail, I think
Michael,
Michael Fowler here. I have a few questions about this. Does the select board, has the select board spent any time looking with the road commissioner at the new potential area where the driveway right of way is going to be? Because you know that you can't put it where you initially thought you wanted.
Right.
And do you also have you had anyone do, a cost, what is it going to cost to put a driveway through there? And also, if you're putting a driveway through there, you're also gonna have to have some type of a parking lot for vehicles, once they go through that driveway. So far, you just presented us with, this is what we were thinking of, and we, and here it is, but there's no real, I heard Gail say that the potential of having the town trucks driving through there, that might severely affect the neighbors. I mean, but those are only two people. It seems like, from my perspective, it seems like there's an idea here, but it's not really well thought out. And yes, I understand that there was an opportunity where someone, proposed an opportunity for that particular property. I mean, over the summer, there were other avenues where there could be town recreation that the select board did not, they did not take full advantage of, the generosity of other members of the town. And now we're going to pay for something. The ARPA money presumably is going to pay for the right to have a right of way without any other monies. You haven't given us a number. No one has given us, are we gonna have power back there? Are we gonna have floodlights? That's, the standards could be astronomical, right? 14,000 is a drop in the bucket. And I agree with Ed. I think that, with the cost of the current town garage being what it is, for the benefit of the entire town, to see that money go to offsetting the cost of that building would be, me personally, I would much rather see that money spent on something like that as opposed to a right of way. We already have a right of way. We own the property, we have access to that property. So it just seems like there's a lot of ill planning or lack of planning by everything that happened, and the way that it just kind of transpired. I would be curious to know, are you guys planning on spending 50,000 after you buy it? Because you have to do something, right? Once you presumably get the right of way, you're going to want to build a road, because you're not going to just keep it for, no reason, right?
I'd like to speak to that. Tracy.
I'd actually prefer the select board to respond because they're the ones that are making the decision. Right?
Tracy, we will get to you in a minute, but he did specifically ask the select board, so let's see what the select board has to say, and then we'll get to you, Tracy, okay?
Sure.
I can respond. Kevin and Eric went and looked at the driveway location and put in stakes, and Eric put in 2 stakes, and there was, for a period of time, there was a piece of ribbon there where Eric determined would be safe for a driveway to go in. When it comes to what the future holds for the space back there, that's what we're hoping a recreation committee will take the time to figure out. I don't think this is something we're going to plan quickly. I think it should take time and intention, and I think it will be, you know, there will be a significant amount of time before we maybe even put shovels in dirt, but I think this is about creating the opportunity for the recreation committee to develop something and to take the time and have all the information they need. They know where the access is going to be, so how they shape the space back there will affect that.
And just a point, I did drive by today and looked, and the stakes are still there.
Okay.
So if you look, you can see where the stakes are.
Those stakes are actually in the snowmobile trail.
No, not where I was looking.
There's a snowmobile trail that's staked out all the way across it,
Yeah,
And then
and they coincide some of what Eric was trying.
Yeah.
all right,
And
never
that's
mind. Where I looked, where I thought
Slightly
the
further
looking
up.
was.
Yeah.
Never mind.
That's a vast
I'll
trail.
take that back.
That was a vast trail, I think.
I'm not a snowmobiler, I'm never gonna be. Okay, Tracy?
So whenever you speak to Mike's question, whenever you do anything like this in any shape or form, there are grant monies out there you would go for to do this. You wouldn't ask the town to pay for it. You would also look to local talent, people who are grant writers, people who are used to finding grants. And there are a lot of organizations out there just looking to give away money. So I don't think that part needs to be planned out exquisitely at this stage in the game, that would come, and that there is a potential for finding grant monies. And I know the discussions were initially about things that could be done with very little money, things that would not take very much, and that would also provide a recreational opportunity in the town.
And I know the existing driveway down there.
Kevin Eaton.
Sorry. The driveway down there seems like a good idea. But you're gonna have to build a road that goes out to the property. Even from where the dump is. You're gonna have a parking issue down there. Also. And if you try to put in another road. From the paved road from 140 on the side toward my brother's house. That's gonna be an issue that you don't want. This town does not want to do that.
It's a really long road,
Yep.
many times longer.
Did I see a hand over here? David?
Wasn't this an option that just sort of arose that wasn't available before? It was tried several times for several previous owners, so it's an opportunity that arose. And you guys went for it, right?
Precisely. It's our first time as a municipality doing a real estate transaction, so. We've done that now.
And learned from it, yes.
Oh, it looks like Kyle might have a question.
Oh, yeah, people have to tell me because I don't see the screen. Kyle, did you want to speak?
We can't hear you, Kyle.
Sorry about that. Yeah, I was just wondering if everybody in the room understands how we got to where we are here. And maybe the select board could let us know maybe some lessons learned from the process.
Yeah,
if any?
no, I mean, I think this was a unique set of scenarios that led to this, and hopefully they don't repeat themselves. And if they did, I think we would be more considerate of adjoining landowners, and we would include more of the decision makers, like the road commissioner, in that kind of a decision-making process. And we would ideally not have it happen so quickly before we'd ask the town to vote on it. So there would be more opportunity for community discussion and for people to feel like they really understand the topic. So I think slowing down the process, if possible, is a good reminder. For myself, I will remember saying if there's a possibility that we don't need to move quickly and can make sure we're giving everybody the time they need. That's certainly something that I've learned from this.
Yeah, I'm just, it didn't really have to come to this with getting a petition to contest the original vote. It's just, if the two adjacent homeowners hadn't really done anything, it would have just kind of been business as usual. It's kind of my feeling. And that, how much does the select board want to include the community in any discussion? Because I feel like there's X amount of people that actually see these Zoom meetings that are being recorded. And there just seems to be a really big disconnect with what the select board is doing and, the townspeople.
Select board meetings, sorry, Kevin, Ian. The select board meetings are open to everybody. You can come to every single select board meeting. You can join us on Zoom at every select board meeting. Not trying to hide it.
No, I'm aware of that. It's just, it doesn't seem like anyone wants to really be involved to begin with, which is kind of, probably part of the problem, but it is what it is.
Unfortunately, you can't force people to come to a meeting.
No, you can just mail them ballots and that's all you can really do, I guess.
And I think in terms of just the development of the space, we're really hoping there will be a large number of people who want to be involved in a recreation committee and be a part of that decision-making process. And hopefully the people who are here and are interested and care about this project will be involved and a part of that, especially if you have a stake in it or have concerns about it. I feel like that's the next step from here, is in terms of the impact this right of way is going to have, is that next step. And so there can be a lot of community involvement in that process, and that's what I expect, and I expect it to take time and intention, and hope everybody feels included and invited to that.
So is this just going to be a walking path at this point, or an actual roadway in the future?
It's purchased at the size where it could be a driveway in the future. There's no current plan to turn it into a driveway anytime soon.
I kind of challenge anybody to walk down that road into traffic and, get to that turnoff. It's not exactly user-friendly to begin with. I just feel it's like that might have been good to assess that, just traffic issue, or just footpath traffic beforehand of, exploring a viable option for a land purchase.
Shirley, you've had your hand up for a while, so.
I yield my time.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry. I can't
I
see
yield
you.
my time.
I'm behind the screen, so I can't see you. I'm sorry. Shirley? He said he yielded his time.
Shirley Bussard, and kind of like a follow-up to Michael and Tracy. Tracy says there will be grants that will support this. What happens when they run out? We add another line in our budget and the taxpayers get to maintain this rec area, which A lot of people in town think our taxes are high. And one other thing, I think the select board needs to apologize to the landowners and people didn't know. Gail has apologized. Gail didn't make the decisions. I think our select board needs to apologize to these people that this driveway impacts the law. I think it's totally wrong that, you know, executive session, yeah, I know they're necessary. But when you're making decisions like this that affect people in town that have been here a long time. First, been here a long, long time. And I don't think it was taken, she was taken into consideration as to the impact it would have on where she lives. That's just 2 cents or 3.
We're all equal here. Just want you to know, no matter whether you've been here a day or 100 years, we're all the same. So I'm just putting that out there. Let's just
I
remember.
realize that, but I think we need to consider everybody.
Right.
Take into consideration everybody. And I don't think this happened this time. That's just my opinion. I think it was rushed through, get it out, get it voted. Oh, good, good, good. We run that one through. How many people were here at pre-town meeting? Didn't matter because that ballot had already been sent out. And I see Gail still explaining, you vote yes for rescind or no, not rescind. She's still having to explain it, where if there had been more people at pre-town meeting, it might have been explained a little better and the vote might have been different, might not have been. But at least people would have known.
Michael, did you have your hand up? I can't see you without.
I strongly support that statement.
Michael,
I have a couple of questions.
Michael Fowler.
Michael Fowler again. One, you know, I keep coming back to the timeline here, and because as we're probably all aware, the Helds were going to donate 3 acres for a recreational area. And there was some back and forth between select board members and members of the ARPA committee. And, you know, was this concept going through the select board at the same time that the donation that the Held were going to give kind of got torpedoed down? And he ended up rescinding that from the town because of the way that he was treated. And so I'm just wondering what the timeline was between the Helds kind of volunteering to give up some property to the town and this scenario where you guys are in executive session. You know, was there any way that you could have explained to the Helds and said, you know, we're going to go in this direction? Or, you know, and the other thing that I was just kind of I'm wondering at is that if we have this right of way and we're not going to do anything with it, do townspeople have that? I mean, since the town purchases it, if they purchase it, do we have the right of way? Can I drive my truck down through that, you know, even though there isn't a driveway? You know, if it's a town right of way, people presumably have the right to start using that property. I mean, presumably we have the right to use that property now for our own recreation and enjoyment, right? I mean, that's
not easily
like,
accessible.
you know, I mean, can I pull my truck in and drive through that field to we buy it and go over the stone wall and, you know, recreate?
I mean,
I would like to have some of that. I was involved in some of the Allen Health discussions. And if you want to think about how much it was going to cost to do this, and then who was going to maintain it, that was a huge problem. It wasn't right here, and it was going to cost quite a bit of money. What Alan wanted to do was basically a pickleball court. And what we decided was for the amount of money, tennis court, pickleball court, that would only benefit very few people. And then it didn't seem appropriate to have it so discontinuous from town center. So whatever else happened in with that, that was the basic problem.
Well, I think there was a couple of other problems that they have.
But that was the biggest problem. The biggest problem was the cost Because I was involved in that and so was Chuck in the discussions.
And I was aware that we were also discussing pickleball courts and tennis courts and a whole, myriad of things that were, that could still be on the table. That's still going to be, that cost is still going to be there. To Shirley's point, at some point, the grants run out and then we are going to be, the town is going to be footed with the bill. How many people are going to use this recreational area?
I see your point. And if you want to talk about how grants work, I
No,
can
I don't wanna
certainly
talk about
have
how
that
grants work.
conversation with
I
you.
want to know.
I would request that comments be addressed to the moderator instead of a back and forth here. This is getting in the weeds.
And I'd also like to request that we stay focused at the matter at hand.
Yeah.
Right, which is, yeah, there will be discussion about recreation, I know, down the road. Right now, what we're trying to do is talk about access to that particular property back there.
Vito Macaluso, I have one question. If the property owners whose property this will affect the most are against this, will we still go ahead?
Who were you speaking about? The owners of the property?
No, the
In other
neighbors,
words, you have the Francis and Edens and the people whose property borders the town property, if they are against this project, will we still go ahead with it?
In terms of like the recreation space in general?
What was that?
The recreation space as a whole, are you speaking of, or the?
In other words, would we still go ahead with putting it right away and going forward with this project if the peoples who own the property that borders this property are against this project?
Vito, what we're doing in the vote is voting whether we're going to rescind, take back the
Right.
vote or not. So it's up to the people at this point to decide by vote, and that's what we're talking about tonight.
Right, but to me, it's important the way I'm going to vote to know what the town's intention is with this property, if property owners who it affects are against it. That concerns me in how I'm going to vote.
So, sorry, Kevin, and so Cranston, they're fine with it. And I own the other property and I'm fine with it. The only two that are issue is Kyle and Barb.
So Vito,
I'm not fine with it.
can I ask a question of like clarifying?
Okay,
So,
Barbara,
I'm not, I'm sorry, if we vote to rescind, are you asking what's the next step? What, I'm like,
Well, he's,
if we rescind the vote, like if enough people vote, yes, let's rescind the vote, what's the next step?
nothing,
Nothing, it's
Right.
done.
I mean,
Well,
For the
we can-
access road.
The access,
for that access road.
yeah, then we start looking at.
I think the next step is a recreation committee that does all the work of communicating with neighboring landowners and all of that.
Colleen,
Colleen Balch, I think there's two separate things that we're all talking about. And I
Yes.
think that they impact people I care about, who are my neighbors and care. And us as a community, but there's two things that we're really talking about here. We're talking about information that will help us make decisions so that we can vote about whether or not we take back the authorization for the town to buy this right of way and get a little slice of the land back that the town already owns. And then the other thing is, how do we go forward from there? How do we make sure that the activities or the installation or the infrastructure that will occur on land that the town already owns and that, in my understanding, has no restrictions on its uses currently? You know, that there's no covenants saying this and that can't happen. Town already owns it. Town can do stuff on it, that we should include everybody who's a neighbor on this committee. Like, if you want to, Barb, and you have the time, or if you want me to be your proxy, I can go and I can help. You know, I want you to be represented, and I want what happens with this property to be okay with our community members, you know. So that's why we all need to be there and be part of that. and help make those decisions, especially if we care, and especially if those things are gonna impact us. But they really are two different things. We wanna learn about and anything that anybody's concerned needs to know to be able to vote to rescind or not rescind tonight, and that's what we're supposed to talk about. And then the select board has proposed what seems like a pretty good decision on its face, that anybody who cares can be involved in then deciding what happens going forward. So nobody gets stuck and there aren't short time frames, and due process can occur, and we can come together as a community and figure out what works. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Colleen, thanks for putting that, because I understand, you know, you want to look in the future, but we don't know what the future holds until we have this vote.
But I think if it ended up that we still regained the access, that its placement and what that entails going forward would involve Kyle and Barb.
Yeah. Yep, not just road safety, but also their
Right.
concerns.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we can all do better together. We can all do better.
And I'm gonna say this again, the key word to remember when you vote is rescind. And know what rescind means?
Take back.
Exactly. So if you want the access, you vote no. If you don't want the access, you vote yes. It's counterintuitive, but it's the way that we had to word it as far as the state goes. So just so you know what a no means and what a yes means. Just, I don't want people coming back and say, well, they didn't tell us that. I want you to know that. No means yes and yes means no.
I would like to be able to respond to.
For sure. Okay, just a moment. Meadow, go ahead.
To respond to you, so we didn't get a chance to respond to your comment. At our last select board meeting, we did discuss that we wanted to apologize to the landowners. I probably should have started this meeting. I do feel bad at how the level of impact this has had. I was not being considerate of how this would feel to the landowners, and I do apologize for that. And I have made apologies personally also. As a select board member, I have learned a lot from this experience, and I feel like going forward, I'll be able to be more considerate in my decision making, and I hope that we don't repeat this. And I do apologize for how this impacted not just the landowners, but the community as a whole in all of this.
Michael has his hand up again, but I want to see if there's anybody who hasn't spoken, who wants to speak first. Is there anybody? I keep throwing that out there. We don't want to have it dominated by a
Rick
few
doesn't
people.
have his microphone off, but I'm not sure.
Who?
Rick doesn't have his microphone on, but I can't tell.
I don't see any hand raised.
Okay.
No,
Well,
okay.
it's not a picture.
Oh.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Clue me in if anybody wants to speak. Michael?
I have a question for the select board. How many acres does the town currently have in recreation that is open to the public?
Don't know that off the top of my head. I would have to look it up and get back to you.
Does anyone know how much property the town has as town property?
Is this Jermaine?
100 acres, 200 acres?
How is it relevant?
I have no idea.
Purchase
Okay.
property, I mean, there's a sizable amount of property, correct?
All right. We do seem to keep going off the topic, and I realize,
My question is, it's a two-part question. It's how much property does the town have already set aside for recreation? And how much is that area down there? What's the lot size that's going to be deemed Because there's gotta be some disconnect between the sand and salt shed and the operations and this recreation area. And my question is, what size is that area going to? I mean, there's gotta be some idea about how big it is.
Okay,
Well, the field itself is
Still,
big.
still not relevant to the.
Hey.
discussion.
I was on the ARPA committee and we were talking about that. Chuck was one of the co-chairs of the subcommittee about recreation. And whether we have 1,000 acres or 10 acres, it doesn't matter actually at this point. We're just talking about that one particular area. And is that developable for what the town wants? And that is a separate issue. Thing is, we're trying to vote on, does the town want to purchase access to that back property through a right of way or not? Or are we going to rescind what we already voted technically? There's money.
Can I just ask? a
Yes, Barbara.
clarifying Question,
Barbara.
Barbara. So if we vote no to have it go ahead,
Yes, I mean,
you know what I mean, correct? If we vote no and we go ahead with a right of way of some sort, do we know at this point the location, or are we still working that out?
So
That's what I don't understand.
Unfortunately, we have to wait until after the vote to,
So you don't know, okay.
Yeah. I mean, we know where we want it to be. But we don't know if the landowners will agree to that. And that's
So right now,
that's
where the
where
stakes are.
I think it's on the other, we're,
I'm just trying to clarify. I'm
Right.
sorry.
yeah, where I thought stakes were, I guess we're on the
But I
right
thought where the
stakes, but
stakes were, was it Buffalo, said that on the other side, Eric said
on the upper side of,
on the other side of where the
Okay.
stakes are
Yeah.
would be better.
so the stakes where you're
Wherever
seeing are
Yes.
bass trails.
I know that.
Okay.
I
The
know
other-
that.
The
Go ahead,
north
yeah.
side of your mailbox, he originally put tape up on the south side of your
Right.
mailbox, but it's actually this side of the
I just
mailbox.
think that's
It's gonna be.
important to clarify so people know where we're talking now, because where the stakes are is not where you're talking anymore. It's on the other side of my mailbox.
And the other thing to remember is the purchase and sales agreement has contingencies in it.
Right.
One is that the town has to, voters have to approve it. Another is that the buyer and the seller have to agree to an exact location, and their bank has to release it from the mortgage. So there's a lot of ifs in there before we get to using that as a right of way. And the other thing that the town's attorney said is if it was on the edge down here, we wouldn't need a survey, but if we're gonna put it up in the middle, we're gonna have to hire a surveyor to actually stake that out. Just so it's clear for everybody going forward. But this is where the town would like it to be, but that may not be acceptable to the sellers. So if we can't agree on it, then the purchase and sales agreement is void and the select board gets to start over with recreation.
Ed, sorry again. After hearing Holly made mention that this vote Saturday is going to be strictly about the right of way.
Tuesday.
Buying the right of way or not to buy.
Tuesday.
Tuesday. I'm sorry, Tuesday.
Just want to make sure people know. Yeah, Tuesday's the vote.
What vote is Saturday? I'm being told that my wife is gonna come here Saturday and work the polls.
No, Tuesday, the 17th.
I don't know.
All right. I'm using this thing. Okay, Ed. Back to what were you saying?
If I understand right, this vote Tuesday is for either buying and building a right of way or not. Nothing to do with the end of the right of way on town property.
Correct.
In order-
Correct.
Before we decide to spend money on a driveway, road, Don't you think we should have some kind of an idea of what we're gonna put at the end of that road? Otherwise, we're gonna spend money on a road to nowhere, if nothing ever.
Right, that's what.
Okay,
Of that.
The committee would be set up to do that.
right.
I'm sorry,
The
It's
committee
important
would be,
Right,
to do something back.
right. The Recreation Subcommittee of ARPA funds has all sorts of plans and ideas, okay? So it's not like we would be starting from ground zero, okay? But once again, the town has voted to purchase this land, if the way be clear. And so what we're doing is, are we going to continue going forward with that, or are we going to rescind it? And then the next step is when we can all get involved and say, hey, I really want to do X, Y, and Z. And I think this will impact 100 people in town to come and we can have, barn dance. I don't know. I'm only, that's first thing came to my mind because I like to dance, but it's great. But so we have to stay on topic. It's what we're trying to do. I know we all want to jump to the next step, but we can't jump to the next step till a lot of other things happen.
Well, I just wanted to make sure before we spend this money, that we have a pretty good idea there's gonna be a next step. And that we're not gonna do a driveway, at the end of it, there's nothing. It's just a waste of money.
A lot of energy for something to happen, for sure.
Okay,
This is,
Doug,
this may help,
Doug-
Doug Fontaine, this may help, Ed. We're not even voting to spend money to build a driveway. We're voting to spend money to procure that right of way. It may be a walking right of way. It may not, the town may decide to not use it for vehicles, but simply as a walking right of way.
Yeah.
So.
Surely.
Sarah, I just have one question. Okay, if we vote not to rescind, we're gonna get property. But it's like buying a pig in the poke, because we don't know where this road is going to be. So how can we vote on where the road's gonna be when we don't know where the heck it's gonna be?
well,
Right. The first time we voted, we had a sense of where we thought it was going to be. And so the town voted yes to that location. And this time, it's still going through the same field, just moved up, I don't know, 100 feet.
This is what Bob is
Couple hundred feet.
Bob is getting nowhere until there's something on paper. And then by then the vote is over. So if we want the road there, we don't have a say about it. So shouldn't the horse be before the cart?
the landowner has to agree to where it is, and that hasn't happened yet because we haven't had this vote yet.
Well, what I'm
So
saying,
that's the horse.
what I'm saying is, we're voting for a chunk of money, so we don't know where it's going.
I
Right?
know it's gonna go, if
It's a two-letter word that means a lot.
we know that if the landowners agree and their bank will release it, it will be on the north side of Barb Knott's mailbox.
But we don't know.
We can't know for
People that are
sure,
voting,
because we have to re-vote. And so once the vote is done, then
wouldn't it have been better to do a fact-finding survey or mission,
Okay.
whatever you want to call it, to know exactly where it was going to be before the vote went out to the people? It might have eliminated this.
absolutely.
So the vote or the paperwork that went to the town to vote was a little preemptive. Am I correct?
I think we all agree that things could have been
Yeah.
done a little more close.
A lot different.
And we could have had more transparency, we could have had a different time frame, but that's in the past. Now we're looking toward the future of Tuesday and voting. Do we want to continue to have the opportunity to purchase the right of way, if the way be clear with all the other things, or don't we? And that's what this vote is about.
But I guess.
And I know we all want to know, all sorts of things, but whenever we vote, you know, we can vote for people or whatever. We don't know totally, you know, look at Santos.
But we should know where this road is going to be before we allocate the money.
Well,
That's,
that's,
I mean, would you go buy something and not knowing what you're buying?
you know, people have bought property and they said, this is where they're gonna put the driveway, and then they're told they can't put the driveway
They're
there.
not working with taxpayer.
We're not working.
We're not to work with taxpayer
Taxpayer,
right
but
now.
it's government money that could be used someplace else.
It's
I hear
funny,
you.
you already paid.
I hear you.
Yeah, we've already paid into that, one way paid into that.
I hear your concern. Unfortunately, at this point, this is the hand we have dealt, and we are just, we can't know exactly until after the vote.
Okay, if it's rescinded.
Yeah.
Then
If
we do
it's
nothing.
going to be. But the selectmen or select board. They will pursue other avenues of a right of way, or is this totally dead in the water?
Well, I think at that point it becomes a walking path.
We would pursue a walking trail maybe by the town office at that point.
And that's
We
not.
spend a
gonna
lot
serve-
of energy on this.
Yeah,
So
I know.
we may be burnt out.
but I can understand that. But, I mean, a walking path, that's not gonna benefit everybody.
Right. Yes.
I guess I believe in a whole community involvement, not
Yeah.
just.
It's tough bringing this community together. I said it's tough bringing this community together. I said it's tough bringing this community together.
Unfortunately, you know, there's nothing that we could possibly ever build that would make everybody happy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, it doesn't matter what group of people we have.
But look at, they came together for this. And look
Well,
how it's used
17.
and utilized. What was
I
that?
said 17 of us did.
Yeah, well, no,
Us donating food and other things. that
Right.
All right, we're getting off topic again. I'm gonna start gambling you back. Colleen,
I'm realizing that I might not have a complete understanding of legally what a right of way, what that term right of way means. So if we purchase the right of way, what rights come along with that? And that's my last question for the night, I promise.
no, that's not true. I heard somebody say drag racing, not drag racing.
When we purchase the right of way, what does that give the town the right to do on that little strip of land?
Okay,
Walk it or drive it.
And to build on it to make those things possible.
Right. The
Right.
growth.
That's what's compared. Okay,
Yeah.
thanks. That's all I was
Have a
wondering.
copy of that agreement?
Typically, that's what a right of way does.
Uh-huh,
Right of way agreement that's not been written yet, drafted. There
okay,
can be things attached to it that says you can, you know, you can't build the whole 50 foot in there, you might be able to build 10 feet. And it might go from this direction or that direction, you know, we don't know if it's gonna go straight across. I hear that on the other side over there, there's a steep. It drops down really fast, so you
Yeah.
might wanna build it this way or that way,
Right,
so it's
yeah.
not just straight across. But in a right of way, sometimes it's between the buyer and the seller, what they agree to.
okay,
And it needs to be clear, you know, egress and ingress and egress is typically what's allowed, but
And-
it can vary from right of way from document to document.
And
generally-
Kevin,
go
there,
ahead, yeah.
even if it stays, like I said, even if it stays, that we have that, keep that right of way, it may not ever develop into a driveway because there may be issues there that don't allow us to put a road in. It may just remain a walking path.
But it lets you set up a walking path or set up a driveway. This one would. That's what, and that's what would be part of it.
That's the intention, so
Got it. Thank you. Now I know better.
Mary Lord. Gail, it was my understanding from my history with my parents' farm that a right of way had to have a further agreement about what was allowed out of the right of way. So this has not been carved out yet, is that correct? So we don't know what the right of way limit is going to be.
There is a right of way in town on the backside of Tinmouth Mountain.
Yeah.
Where you have to go through the barnyard of the farmer.
Yeah.
And so that right of way says, if the gate's unlocked, you have to leave it unlocked, if it's built, you have to put the fence. The farmer actually put up like 12 different fence lines, so the poor people that could use the right of way have to go through all these things, so
So
it depends what you put in the right of way.
So that has not been hammered out yet.
No, it has not.
Thank you.
Yes,
Teresa Hoffman. So again, it sounds like what the vote would allow is the town and the owners to negotiate access to the town property. And they would figure out just where to put that, what form that would take, the details. So we're giving permission for the town and the landowners to negotiate access.
correct.
Okay.
You got it.
I don't know what time it is, but I always feel like I've been here for a few hours myself.
7:32. It's only been an hour.
Okay. All right. But I don't want to cut off anybody's debate or have anybody not have their say tonight. So is there anyone who would like to speak, especially those who haven't spoken yet? Anybody? Or-
Hi,
Oh, hello.
I'm sorry, this is Nancy Birdsall. Holly, could I?
Yes, I don't see you, but go ahead.
I would love it if you or anybody up front would read through the vote one more time and explain the votes to us, because it seems like there's been from my perspective, there's been plenty of discussion. We know there's going to be a lot more to talk about regardless of how the vote goes. So now how about really clarifying how this vote will work? Please.
Okay. If you want to have the town be able to negotiate with the owner to have the right of way, as we already said in the vote, then you vote no, because you don't want to rescind. You don't want to take back the vote that had already been through. However, if you do not want the town to have access the right of way, then you vote yes. And that is what is confusing, I'm sure. But if you want to rescind, take back the vote, then you have to vote yes. If you want it to stay the way it is now, with the town being able to have the access, or at least to negotiate with the owner, then you vote no. Like a double negative. I love grammar. Not everybody does. David Birdsall.
Do we still know, David, yeah, thank you. Do we still know, or do we know the, what the vote was, the numbers last time?
It
Oh,
was 178 to 104. So in order for the vote to be rescinded, you have to have 2/3 of the prevailing side of the original vote. So because 178 voted yes, 100 the first time, 119, which is 2/3, would have to vote yes this time. And if they don't meet that threshold, then the original vote stands.
did everybody hear that? Understand that?
Yes.
You Zoom people? Did they?
Nobody's
making any-
No one's expressing any concerns.
Just have the names.
Okay, all right.
right.
I just want to make sure that there isn't miscommunication as to how to vote, so that you get your voice out there. Once again, throw this out. Anybody want to say anything who hasn't spoken, or anybody who has already spoken want to say one last thing?
I want to say one thing, which is that I will not be running for select board, so there's a 3-year seat open.
Okay.
All right, one more thing, Kyle Parker here. Just want everybody present there to vote yes next Tuesday. And thanks for showing up. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. I yield my time.
Anybody want to say anything? We usually have a motion to adjourn. This is an informational meeting, so
Are going to proceed to vote
Vote on
on
Tuesday.
8 o'clock on Tuesday.
do we need somebody to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
All right. The motion is that this will, informational meeting, will close and you will be instructed, if you so choose to exercise your responsibility and privilege to vote on Tuesday.
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Opposed? You can stay. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I am running for moderator again. If anybody wants to sign my